Okay, so we're going to continue from where we left off in Siman Kuf Gimel, because Taaruvot did Noisim Tam Lev Gam. We have 7 seifim to cover, even though we did a few of them already. Just a good idea to review some of the important points of what Tam Lev Gam is. Since Tam is significant, as we've seen, it does lose a little bit of its significance if it undergoes a degradation. Is that what degradation? And the question was, how much of a degradation? In Halacha, you will find that the slightest degradation is called pogum. And that's what Mechaber seems to be saying is sufficient, as far as what we're concerned, as far as the halachas of this siman, is that if it underwent a small, slight degradation, that it's distasteful, it's no good anymore, it renders the tam pogum. That's very important, because once the tam is pogum, the most of an isser that there will be, if there remains an isser, is like some poskim hold, there's still an isser, but it's an isser d'Rabbanan to eat it. But once it's in a taruvos, however, the halacha changes considerably too. I'm not concerned so much about eating it in itself, which is aser, still aser, if it's pogum, even if it's not roy lachilas odom. But if it's in a taruvos, that would change the whole thing. It may change the whole scenario of whether I need sheep. What if I have a birya, right? In all these kinds of situations, does it make a difference if it's pogum or not? Well, it depends how pogum it is too. So in describing pogum, we said that the slightest pegima is actually that which is found within the walls of a keli. That which is found within the walls of a keli is a tam as well. It eventually can become a plita. And that plita, if it was within the walls of a keli overnight, and according to some poskim, not even 24 hours, as we will see today, just a lina slaila, just overnight, literally overnight, just with laila, within the walls of a keli, it will render it pogum. Plita is that which is secreted, that which is emitted, coming out from the wall. Once you cook,
what's the taste?
The taste. Once you cook,
nothing physical.
Nothing real physical, right? Once you cook again in that same pot, it's a fleshik pot, a Melicha pot, or a pot that contained an isser, right? Whatever comes out, which will be in the form of flavoring, can aser, right?
A quick vocabulary. Now, if I have in the pot,
right,
and oozes out some juice, always just. Or can the emission of a juice from actual physical presence called plata?
That's called also plata. Sure, sure.
So it's only emission of taste when it's the walls of the pot, because there
that's
you
correct.
only have taste.
Yeah, sure. Because here you're having much more than just taste. Yeah.
But this could also be reflected.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. When we learn Hilchas Melicha, Mr. Shem, we'll talk about the dam being niflat from the Basar through the salt.
And such dam would also
being extracted out. Yeah, it's also called plita. So the simplest form of pegima would therefore be that taste, the flavor, which is within the walls of the keli, that at some point in time will become pogum. I said some point in time because either you hold it's a me'es la'es, a full 24 hours, or, as the sheet, as we will soon learn, discuss a minimal of overnight. Overnight meaning sunset to sunrise, or to alois shachar. Either way.
So basically hours.
Yes. Now, what do you do if you're in Scandinavia in the summer?
Where there is no night?
Well, which is very, very short.
So there you go.
Or the other way around. Anyway.
So it's 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Right time.
Anyway, so yes, I would agree with you. About 12 hours. Yeah. So this is the simplest form of pegima. And it's actually from that we learn that pegima is something real. That just like, this is the what Rashi explains, just like by Gi'ulei Akum, by the kingdom of Goyim, right? If it was not Bnei Yoimam, if their pots are not Bnei Yoimam, we say that the tam, whatever tam is still there, is pogum. I'm not allowed to cook in them lechatchila, right? But if you did, it helps to know that the tam is pogum, because then you could eat your food. Because you're eating a tam which is pogum. Even though that tam, remember, is treif. But the tam is pogum. When the tam is pogum, it's pogum. That's it. Yes, I can eat my food. By mistake, I cooked in a pot that I wasn't supposed to. I didn't know. Okay?
But it's pagum.
But it's pagum. I know for a fact that the guy didn't use it for a couple days.
But that we already learned with respect to Basar B'chala.
Right. So I'm reviewing that point.
That just saying no because he was right.
Right. So I'm repeating this because it's important to see this point. That's where we learn the slightest form of pegima from this itself. That if the keli is not a ben yoima, the tam is not a tam. Right. However, there are other forms of pegima, and that is food that has either become not tasty over time, nisrach completely nisrach, completely degraded, rotten, okay? Or through, let's call it chemical combustion.
Yeah.
I don't know. The combination of one food with another food, that by cooking them together, the metaphors is, how's that? Whatever.
I'm not quite sure.
Anyway.
Metamorphosis is something else.
Yeah. The combination, the union, the chemical reaction of a result of two foods together would render this food very not tasty.
It could just be the combination of the two tastes.
Exactly.
Let's say a non-yashan spaghetti in a pot. They have to wait and use the pot.
No, now you're getting into a davar sheyesh lo matirin situation, maybe, right? In other words, it was yashan, or it was not yashan, right? It was not yashan,
Yes.
right? So
It will become yashan. By the time it becomes yashan, it will be yashan.
Yeah.
It was the old spaghetti.
yeah. No, but he's talking about that it was already done. It was a not yashan situation. You may have to, and you wait. If it was a matter of a day, you're saying, right? If it's a certain amount of time, you could wait. It would be a davar sheyesh lo matirin, perhaps. That's what he's saying. But that would
in the pot.
That would not be a situation here where we would have to be concerned about it here with pogum, unless he really became yashan, really old.
No, but Bichlal,
yes.
Is yashan a din? Isser of yashan, is that a din that also has?
That's already. We're dealing with the rabbanans. Yeah.
Right.
We're dealing with the especially in Chutz La'aretz. Bichlal, it would be a suffix altogether.
So
you wouldn't have to be concerned with
We don't have to worry
it.
about absorptions of non-yashan.
No, you wouldn't.
Flour in pots.
You wouldn't have to be concerned about it. So you have several sfeikas in that case. Yes.
It could be like that to make the food pop.
That's also true, right? If something was done, too much of an ingredient was used, and as a result of that, it became very pogrom, right?
So that's interesting.
Yes.
So in other words, the forbidden substance itself does not have to be the source of a gila.
That's right. Exactly. And we haven't gotten to it yet, but that's Sif Gimel. Yeah. What we've covered now is the basic types of pegima that either by combination of ingredients or on their own they're pogum. Just that on their own it's a little bit tricky when it comes to a birya. Because the Ramah, in talking about a birya, says that dvorim achashuvim, if they're not pogum be'atzmam, even though they will be pogum the tafshil, they're not, but they're still not bato afilu be'elef. So the birya was in some ways an exception, that birya has to really lose its chashivas as a birya. How does it lose its chashivas as a birya? Only if it in itself was nisrach, completely. Not that it causes a bad taste in the food.
But if it itself has a bad taste.
No, so that depends. The Aruch HaShulchan, right? The Aruch HaShulchan, for example, says, and there are others who hold pretty much the same as the Aruch HaShulchan does, that if it's so distasteful on its own, it's also in a taruvos bottle, in the regular roiv or shishim. In other words, it would not have the din of afilu be'elef la bottle. Since in itself, it has a very bad taste. It's completely pogrom.
Let me ask you.
Not everybody agrees with
I
that.
understand, but let me ask you if you're a little confused.
Right.
Let's say you have, there is a cockroach,
Right,
and the cockroach, because it's present, will be adding a very unpleasant.
right,
Now, you remove the cockroach.
right.
So now you have 68, and you need 60.
Yeah, but the taste is pogrom anyway.
Because you remove, you would need, and now you won't need because
Now
it's
you may
pogrom.
not need.
Because
Sure.
it's pogrom, but you
Right.
remove the cockroach. Now the cockroach is still
Are
present.
you going to still eat the soup?
I wouldn't, but some people would.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Cockroach, because they do have a
Yes.
delicatessen fair where they
Don't
have
tell you guess.
Yes,
cockroach and chocolate.
right.
They sell it actually.
Anyway, so what was the question?
Now, if you had an absorption of the cockroach in the pot,
Yes,
then the absorption we wouldn't have a problem because the time was gone.
that's correct.
The taste is bad.
We're going to learn that. That's what we covered that. The absorption of the pgima in the pot is not going to be a problem most of the time. I said most of the time because there are times that it may. But most of the time, that which is pogum, if it's making the food pogum, then it will leave a pogum taste in the walls of the keli as well.
So all you need to do is remove the cockroaching because the taste
Yes.
is pogum.
Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah.
you have to remove it.
You still have to remove
And
it.
it
Yeah.
still, as a cockroach, has the area or not.
Yes, it does.
Uh-huh.
Yes, the cockroach has a din of
Even
birya.
though it gives a bad taste, it has a din of chashivas. It has to be.
Once you see the issue, you have to remove it.
It's not mitzvah, I mean to say.
It's not this bottle. The beer
Let's say you don't see it, but you know it's
right.
there.
The birya is not this bottle. That's correct.
Even though it has a bad taste. The taste will be misbottled once the beer is
That's
removed.
correct, right.
But once the beer itself is still present, it was usher everything.
It was still also everything. The whole thing would still be aser if I see it. Yeah. So the Mechaber said that this pegima, therefore, to be called a pegima, does not have to be achi katzla ochloi until you're totally disgusted from eating it. Even if it's a little bit of a pegima in the taruvas, it's okay. Now, the chiddush was that you don't have to have, once something is pogum and it's mixed in the taruvas, it says the hainu daf kishin is arav isur muat im heter meruba. In other words, there's a bittul beroiv here. But if you have more of an isur than you have a heter, or even if you have 50%, you don't say noisin tam livgam is mutter. Unless that's when the greater degradation is important. Unless it's completely degraded, that you can say that even if there's more of an isser than a heter. Very important distinction here. Once something is completely degraded, then it's not. There's no isser kimat, and this is important when you have capsules. All kinds of situations on Pesach too, depending on the active, inactive ingredients, depending on various things. If something is completely degraded, I mean, it's not royal achilas kelev even, then it has no din of isser. So that's what he says here, that this din of noisin tam livgam, if it's just the bare minimum of livgam, you still need a roiv, heter, to be mevatalet. But if you have 50%, well, for sure, if you have more isser, you don't say noisin tam livgam mutter, unless achiyiv gum legamre. Then which means eno royal machol odom at all. That's all. Here he doesn't even say royal achilas kelev. He just says eno royal machol odom at the very, very least. Eno royal machol odom. There's a difference between eno royal machol and eno royal machol kelev.
Sure.
So here he says at the very least eno royal machol odom, and there's no mamosha shel isor, only tam bilvad. Then afilu isur meruba beheter muat muter. I'm sorry, the third point, v'imein sham mamosha shel isor, all you have is the tam, that's the third din. Afilu isur meruba beheter muat is muter, in poigim sas. That's the third din. In other words, that once you don't have the mamoshas of the isur, all you have is tam, and the tam is pogum, that's a big chiddush here. It doesn't have to be very, very pogum. If it's tam and not the mamoshas of the isur, even if it's a little bit pogum, even if you have roiv of it, you don't have enough. And the typical example of roiv tam is where? In the pot. Wasn't that our example? That's the best example, because usually you don't have enough food in an average pot, right, to be mevatel the tam within the kedera, within the walls of the pot. So that's the best example where we have tam, that's asur, not the mamoshas of the isur, that even though most of it, or more of it, is asur than the heter, it's okay for it to be pogum ktsas. We just said you need to be pogum in order to machol odom. If you have more of it, that's only if you have the isur mamish. If you don't have the isur mamish, if you have only the tam, what's the idea here? Since all of this is tam, it's not tam if it's pogum. You see, by tam, it has a disadvantage to the real isur. Real isur, in order for it to really be completely not an issue, I have to have it not royal ma'achol adam altogether. If it's just pogum ktsas, you know what? There's a leniency of batel beroiv. Pogum ktsas means I don't have to be machmir so much.
But isn't it batel beroiv anyway?
No, we're talking about the cooked here. There's shishim. Usually you need shishim.
You mean, so
you don't even need shishim.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to be concerned about all the halachas.
The taste, because the shishim goes on taste.
Right.
Even though rice.
Yeah. Right.
I was a little confused with respect to the walls of the pot.
Right.
Because here we're talking just about simple majority. In other words, really,
Right.
Normally when I say the pot won't hold 60 times its walls, I'm talking about 60 times its walls.
That's correct.
But here I'm just talking about majority. So l'chayra, even if a
Yeah,
pot is not
you're
over
right.
6 times its walls, but certainly what is the contents of the pot is simply a majority compared to what the absorptions are.
Yeah, and we said a majority of Isser is not good.
The majority of food is heter, the absorptions are Isser.
You're right. You're right. Okay,
60
what
is
you're
not-
talking about is in the event you have a majority of heter versus,
Right, and simply the contents
and
of the
that
pot,
you may have. You're right. You're very right.
60 I won't have. but
60 you will not have, but you're right. That's a
simple
good point.
majority.
If all you need is a simple majority, you may be able to have a simple majority against
Normally I
it.
should.
Yeah, but even if the chiddush here, even if you did not, that's true. That's the chiddush here. Even if you did not have a simple majority of heter versus the tam of the walls, it's okay because all it is tam.
I don't even have to worry about
Yeah.
it.
Now, since this is tam and not the real isser, it's enough for it to be slightly pogum. How is it slightly pogum? It was there overnight. Imagine a big pot. I cooked a little bit of heter in it. It was there overnight. The tam therefore is pogum. I don't have to worry about the food. This could happen in your home. You cooked dairy in a meat pot, meat in a dairy pot, but there's pgimas, okay? You know for a fact there's pgimas.
We know for a fact that
You have to
the
know
meat
for a
was
fact.
cooked that the milk, last time it was used for milk was more
Yes.
than 24 hours ago.
Exactly. Now you have a problem in the pot right now that has both basar b'cholav. For those of you who learn basar b'cholav, you now have a problem with the basar and cholav in the pot, but the food is a different issue. And this, by the way, does happen. People say, by mistake, with a spoon. So you have two questions when you mix the wrong utensils. You have a question about the food or your coffee or whatever it is that you just used the wrong spoon, the pot and the spoon, if you mix it one into the other, and the food. So the pot and the spoon are a separate problem. They may now have an absorption of both basar and cholav, even though one of the tamim is pogum, makes no difference. Right, it makes no difference. You all follow me?
Yes.
Even though one of the tamim in the utensils, or in both utensils, is pogum, it makes no difference. That requires kashering, if possible. Then I have a separate question with the food. The food is usually not a problem if there's an eino benyoimo situation. Okay? So that's, yes?
Yes, does this container apply also to taaruvos? What happens?
Well, anything that becomes pogum is pogum. If it's not, if it has lost its complete taste, it's not its original taste.
Quick question:
Yeah.
would it make a difference?
But that's not yain nesach. Maybe stan yainim, the yain midrabanan today.
That's something else.
Yeah, real yain nesach is also behano, in any form. So it would be strict. The real yain nesach.
I was going to ask, there's a difference
Yeah.
between this, for instance, worship. Now, if they would use such a.
That's the whole idea of yain mevushal. They don't use. Why do we allow yain mevushal to be handled by a goy? Because they wouldn't use yain mevushal on their altar.
Because they wouldn't use it. If they
Right.
did use yain mevushal.
Well, obviously, but they don't.
So
Because of that, you're allowed to have a goy handle this bottle of wine,
that's
open bottle of wine, if it's yain mevushal. If it's cooked pasteurized wine.
Right. And if he doesn't know the mevushal,
Well, makes no difference if he knows or not.
once it's yain mevushal, it's
We don't concern
immune.
ourselves. It's immune, especially today in our
The reason
situation.
I'm asking because
Yeah.
usually it says mevushal on the bottle in Hebrew letters. How much
Yeah, I know.
It's not what the
Yeah.
guy knows. We can
Yeah,
know.
right. But I would,
but the argument is that he won't use
Yeah,
it for
no,
idol worship.
he won't.
That's mevushal.
Yeah, no.
But if he doesn't know it's mevushal, maybe he will
there's
use
no
it for
gzera
idol
on that. During the time of in other words, if we would be living during a time when Goyim would actually take the wine and be menasechet, and we had a chashash that he was thinking, he didn't know that this is Yahweh, it would be another problem.
You still wouldn't be.
Sure, I mean, because whatever, right.
And
Yeah.
instantly, the issue is the rice. It's not a
Yain Nesach, yes.
Yeah, so the
Yain
rice.
Nesach, yes. All right. Anyway, so that was with the Basar B'Chalov, and the same thing with the Pagam here, that if it was with Nevelas or Trevis or anything like that, of that sort, if we knew for sure that's Einu Ben Yomim, then of course the Maichal in itself would be okay, even though Lechatchila I'm not allowed to cook in the pot. This is all a question of B'di'evet. All right. Just want to talk a little bit about Noisin Tamim Gam Pesach. It's a very interesting sugya too. Even though we're not learning Hilchas Pesach, it's good to know because it can happen. I mean, these are important halachas that apply a whole year. But Pesach is a little bit different. As you know, Pesach, Chometz, Osur, b'mashahu. We're very strict with chametz. But what happens if this chametz is pogum? Okay, we just finished explaining more or less that pogum takes away our problem of tam, and somehow it solves a lot of problems with the isur be'ein too. If the isur would be mixed up as far as the hilchos Taaruvos is concerned. What about chametz on Pesach? What about chametz pogum, that is?
The one way of cleanse over Pesach on Shabbos, because we can't burn it on this, to put a heat or something, right?
How's that?
2 decks on it.
On what?
Chametz that's found on Shabbos.
No, you cover up so you shouldn't touch it. It's muktzah.
No, but to do the thing then.
Oh, burning, yeah. How to dispose of it. Yeah, there's various ways, yeah.
So my question, wouldn't that indicate that if it's pogum, then it's no longer violates the...
Well, something that it all depends.
Between benefit and
it all depends on how pogum it is. But let's just talk about the simple form of pogum. Chametz pogum and Pesach. So it's a machlokes. According to the Rashba, even though the flavor is pogum, you still need roiv to be mevatel. That issue which is pogum, right? And in Pesach, since chametz is osur b'mashahu, so he holds that it's not bottle. Very simple. Just even though it's true that the tam is pogum, you still need roiv, and because in Pesach you can't even have roiv. It's also b'mashu, so therefore there's no bittul.
So again, his argument is.
So therefore he holds, the Rashba holds, noisim tam lefgam and Pesach is osur.
So his argument, if I understand, normally when we're not talking about chametz and Pesach,
right?
Normally, having the tam be hagum is not sufficient. Normally, by an isser, I also need roiv in addition to that.
Right, you need
so
to
now that in Pesach, I'm talking about a special isser that's also mashu.
Right.
So the fact that the tam is pogum is not going to help me with isser of the mashu of the material, physical.
That's correct. Yeah. Whereas the Rosh holds chametz pogum. Once it's pogum, the isser is gone, and it's mutter. Rashi, Rabbi Elyahu Kin, I think they all hold pretty much the same. That something that is pogum is pogum. What is the mechaber paskin? Noisin tam lefgam Pesach is mutter. Ramah says there are some who are machmir. He considers the other sheet, and therefore that's the minhag. It's to be machmir. But this is an important halacha to take into consideration in all kinds of situations of taruvas and hefsed, and what do we do? Because we are machmir on mashu. But
so Sfardim would follow them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Talmud Gam is mutter and Pesach. What is that?
How does that get? If you're going to say that's the subahano,
which is one? Yeah, but once it's pogum, it's gone. There's no chametz.
The hana is totally on the taste.
Yeah, there's no isur. Yeah.
Can you sell that chametz if it has a pogum taste?
Again,
you can't use it for like that, even though
we're not talking about the isur in itself. We're talking about taruvas here. Okay, we're talking about in the taruvas here. If it's bottle or not. That's what we are concerned over here. By itself, obviously, at least in isur d'rabbanan, which leads us to the next point.
But in the case of the taruvas, where it dissolved into the taruvas, you would be able to have a majority against.
Yes. You would have the din of bittul. This is one of those things that I may review next week a little bit more because it relates to those other things that I learned from Hilchas Taruvos here. So maybe we'll cover that separately again. But any food that is nifsal me'achilas adam, it's mashma from the poskim that it in itself is still osur midrabanan. That's important to remember. Anything which is nifsal me'achilas adam, I didn't say me'achilas keler, me'achilas adam, which I'm quoting the mechaber, which is a very high form of degradation, right? It's still, it's still in itself without bittul, without being in a taruvas, it's still osur midrabanan. Yeah. And the only time it's mutter in any form is if it's in a taruvas.
And not be'ein.
What?
It's be'ein.
Not be'ein. No, you don't, as long as you don't see it. Because by a taruvas they were not geyser. All right.
Now the oraisa, you wouldn't have that problem once it's nifsal me'achil.
Right. It's midrabanan. It's still also
But the
midrabanan.
Rabbanan, we also say a be'ein. That's what should.
Yeah, because the poskim hold or Rishonim hold that once the Isser is there, and the Taaruvos doesn't really help. If you could see it, it's like it's there. I mean, sure.
And that's also Xera also that also extends into the Rabbanan that if the be'ein makes it. I'm just asking for.
No, if the Isser is Ba'ain, and you can see you have to remove it, it's not bottle. The halachas of bittul don't apply to it. If somehow you can remove it, you have to remove it. You have to filter it. You have to do whatever you can. That was a shayla that we discussed before. That if there was a possibility that you may discover it, then it's usher.
Yeah, we had the
Yeah.
That was, but I understood that with the Dorais. I'm just checking
Also, yeah. All right, and we explained about the Chazon Ish saying that it's not called nifsum machal adam if it could be eaten v'shas adachak. You can eat it, then it's not called nifsum machal adam. Nifsum machal adam is you barely eat it at all. That's how he explained it. Okay, another important point that perhaps we should raise is something that you may have heard, depending in Basar b'chalav or not. Did you hear the term shalok kederach hana'asan?
We didn't use it in Basar b'chalav.
You may not have used it. But it should have been learned. It should have been discussed. Very important halacha. Shelo kederach hana'asan, a very important area in halacha, called shelo kederach hana'asan. Something that is enjoyed not in the direct way, not in the proper way, not in the common way. Yeah.
What will be an example?
Yeah, that's what we're going to discuss a little bit. What you did learn in Basar b'chalav is that it's asur b'hana, any form of hana. Right? Right. The question would be, what if Basar b'chalav is pogum? Yeah, Basar b'chalav, and it's pogum.
Basar b'chalav means that after it had already been cooked.
It became.
At the time of it was cooked, it was okay.
Right.
But now some time has passed, and by now it's become pogum.
Whatever. Somehow something happened to it. Somehow something happened to this Basar b'chalav, and it became pogum. It's real pogum according to everybody. It's pogum. What now? What do you say?
So your question is, what now to the
to this Basar b'chalav? What do we say about this Basar b'chalav pogum?
Now they became pogum, are you allowed to derive a benefit? So
what? Yeah. Can I have it?
Do you want to consume it or sell it?
Consume it.
So are you allowed?
Either in a taruva, so whatever. I mean, not by itself. Of course, not by itself.
Because that's at least we have
right?
to drop on.
Not by itself. Here it's mixed. You have a Basar b'chalav, something, a piece of, I don't know, cheeseburger, right? But a kosher cheeseburger, of course.
Now we're talking about pogum. We're talking about the taste became pogum or itself is starting.
The whole thing became pogum. The whole Basar b'chalav hill became pogum.
So the thing itself is rotting, or the thing?
Well, regardless, it makes no difference. No, it's obviously you can't eat it, but it's in the taruvas here. Okay? Do we apply? I mean, can you have it? What's the problem with Basar b'chalav? But what's the problem with Basar b'chalav?
It's hanan.
You can derive benefit from it.
Yeah. Well, the question here is, can you have it if it's pogum? Does pogum in any way make it any different by Basar b'chalav?
But generally speaking, Basar b'chalav, once it became hanan, there are two opinions. One says this is still an sort of Basar b'chalav, and every combines with it infects with sort of Basar b'chalav.
Right.
So if this fell into a pot with other meat, it's as though that meat was milk.
Right.
And there's another opinion, I don't remember
right.
who it was, where it says no, Basar b'chalav becomes a shar isur. So it's no different than if a piece nevela fell into a pot with meat. So the question is which.
There may be various scenarios, but let's not think of too many scenarios right now because we may get carried away. Let me just explain to you what the machlok is here. There's a machlok, the crazy flacy, and the chavas das on this. Crazy flacy says, you know what? In Basar b'chalav, it's so chomer that it's also afilu shelo kederach hana'asan. When shelo kederach hana'asan means not even in its proper way, not in the way it's eaten usually.
So in other words, if I swallow it,
swallow
it into my mouth and swallow it.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, in
like
such a way.
Peanuts, like they do with peanuts.
Yeah. A typical shelo kederach hana'asan, by the way, would be a pill.
A pill.
Okay? If you wanted an example. A form, now depending, I say a pill, but it depends. Because when you're talking about medication, some medication is in liquid form. And that is kederach hana'asan in a sense. But shelo kederach would be not the way it's usually ingested. How's that? That sounds better. It's not. Okay? Just for a small example of Shelo Kederech Hanaoson. Basar b'cholov is also Shelo Kederech Hanaoson even. It's also Behano. So the crazy place it says, since Basar b'cholov is also even Shelo Kederech Hanaoson, it would also be also in the same way if it's pogum. You understand what he's saying? Very simple. Makes some sense to me. Right? If Sheloi Kederech Hanaoson is also Asur in Basar v'Chalav, in any form you have it, so pogum would not make a difference.
In other words, he's saying pogum is a form of not derech hanaoson.
Yes.
Since you're not...
It can be considered...
like a form of that. Because
right.
he said, to have a hana,
right.
to have a pleasure, would be to have a pleasure from the taste. For
yes.
instance, it's one possible benefit, is the
right.
taste.
Yes.
And if I'm not allowed to have any benefit from it, so the fact that this taste is not making it more permissible because I'm not allowed to have any benefit from it anyway.
Yes. Anyway, doesn't make a difference. Right. So even in a situation where there's no direct enjoyment, it would still be asur.
But that's only if you look at the pleasance of the taste as a form of benefit.
That could be the machlokes here. That's what's behind maybe the rationale here. The Chavas Das says no. Something that's pogum has lost its status of isser.
It's no longer called having a bet.
It's not called the isser anymore. It has lost the status.
It's not the thing itself.
It's not the thing itself. If it's pogum, that's not what
this is not the thing on which the isser of Hana was said. Exactly,
because that's the rationale on other isurim too. That if this nevela is pogum, if this thing is pogum, that's not what the Torah had in mind of forbidding. Now, of course, you can't have it anyway, but that's not the real isser. It's no longer. It has lost. It has decomposed. It looks different. A body, a cadaver, a corpse, or whatever, decomposes. After a few hours or days, you can no longer identify it, recognize who it is. It's no longer it. It's lost.
It's changed its identity.
Changed its identity. So an isser is no longer an isser if it has become pogum. Now, of course, it makes a difference how pogum. For a variety of scenarios, it will make a difference how pogum will be. But as far as we're concerned, is this the isser Torah anymore? It's not.
According to the Chavas. And
even according to those who hold the tam ke'ikar is the Raisa, everybody's in agreement that if it was there over a me'is leis at least, everybody on the me'is leis would agree that tam is pogum. So comes along the Chavas Das and says, Basar v'Chalav too. If it's pogum, it's pogum. That's the way he holds.
If it's lost the status of Challah, why is it forbidden?
The Rabbanon.
No, it's a Rabbanon.
The Raisa is lost.
You can't have it. You can't have the Isser if it's pogum. Well, in a Taaruvot, it would make a difference. It would not be anymore the same thing as a Basar b'Chalav. What?
No, Taaruvot.
What?
Not the Diah, but in the Taaruvot.
In a Taaruvot.
It fell in.
It fell in, sure.
Can you lahat?
Did I say b'diavad?
No.
Yeah. Right. In a Taaruvot, we're only concerned here in Taaruvot. We're never suggesting somebody can have something that is pogum. All we're doing is learning about Taaruvot now.
But Al-Pi Basar b'Chalav would by accident. He didn't know, and he made it by accident.
The question is, you have this Basar b'Chalav now mixed in a pot.
No,
okay.
His question is a different question. Someone by mistake had a pogum Basar b'Chalav.
Right.
And this is asking, is it now mutter? I don't understand what's mutter. Now it's being digested. Are you allowed to digest it?
No, one may not have any isser that is pogum, slightly pogum. Can you have an isser that is not roy l'maychol odom, if it's in the form of a capsule, or actually in that situation it's not even roy l'kelef?
Exactly.
Okay, then it shouldn't be a question, because it's medication and you don't have an alternative. It could be chometz b'Pesach. It could be any isser made from oysters. They have all kinds of medications made from all kinds of what is it called? Seafood? No, seafood. All kinds of seafoods. All kinds of things, like shellfish. That's what I meant. Yeah, all kinds of things. So if it has lost a certain grade where it's not roy l'achila at all, then obviously there's no isser to it. That's not the isser. Do we eat it lechatchila if there's nothing else? Yes. You may have it.
Now, it's a chumrah to avoid having vitamins. You're saying it's a chumrah?
Well, obviously, you don't want to put anything that's usher into your system if you can
Yeah,
avoid
you don't
it.
want, but you're not. But you're violating halacha if you.
No, you're not violating halacha. Not if
provided it's not tasty.
Yeah, exactly. It all depends. There are various other issues.
Like they put flavors in there to make it for children.
There are various other issues when it comes to isurim, even though they're not royu lachila. One of them was the Avraham Maimed that we learned, right? Because of its function and what it does in forming the cheese. Even though it's eitz be'alma, it's like a piece of wood, right? It doesn't serve any purpose. Still, because of its function, it's not batal, right? And there can be other situations too. That was the problem of gelatin. How is the gelatin made? And what if you take something that is right now not edible, but somehow you are able to transform it back to something slightly edible, which happens with certain ingredients. They're able through the process to take something which was not edible and make it now a little tasty. We'll talk a little bit about that too. What then? You see how it becomes a little bit complicated, and it's not always an easy situation. And therefore, if you can avoid, of course you should avoid, not take that which is also. But let's say that's the only thing that there is, and you don't have to be very, very sick. If it's a vitamin, even that is very much highly recommended for someone to take, and there is no other vitamin, and you have to find out. What the status of those ingredients are. Is it totally not edible?
Do vitamins actually have a medicine? Do they have a din nutritional supplements?
Okay, that's another question. If vitamins has a din of medicine, the Gabi Shabbos, if you're allowed to take them on Shabbos or not.
For instance, but also for instance, with respect to nutritional supplements, I understand some people that it doesn't have. That it's.
But what's the question? The Gabi Shabbos, if you can take it on Shabbos or not?
No, if there is a involved. Nutritional supplements, I understand people hold not the heter.
You don't have the heter.
Yes.
It all depends. If it's completely, technically, I'm only talking about technically. I'm not giving you here a psak for a particular item situation because it all depends on various other factors. But technically, if the Isser has lost its status of Isser completely, it's not a problem.
You said if
then,
lost its status of Isser, of course it's
then you have something else. It's also mixed in. It's not the coating. It's also mixed in. Because remember, we talked a little bit about coating. That which makes it shiny. The Isser is be'ein, maybe. You can call it something. You can say maybe it has a different status, halachically. But when this Isser, which is not royal achila, is also mixed in, that's the halachas that we're learning right now. And the halacha is lechatchila, you can have it. After it got mixed in. The only problem would be bittul isur lechatchila if that applies here. In other words, anytime you have an isur that is misbatel because of the taaruvos that it's in, one of the issues that you will have is that called bittul isur lechatchila. The company is doing it for you. Okay, but it's not anyway edible. It's not anyway edible. It's a question of bittul isur. It's in the taaruvos. You for sure have roiv, if not more. Then it's mutar lechatchila even. Should we eat it? I don't recommend it. I don't recommend, and a lot of the better hashgachas will not give a hashgacha on something that has any prohibited ingredient, even though it's bottled in 100 or 200.
We need to say in the medicine itself.
No, forget about medicine. Food, any food. Forget about medication is a little bit different. Okay. Because of the need, okay, then there's a need for it. We make a heterim for these kinds of things. But food, it's bottled in 100. It's just this minute amount of coquino or carmine, right? All these things that are usher. But it's such a minute amount, so what? And there are some rabbis, so-called, who say, well, it's bottled, what do you care? But a good hashgacha says, no. I know in advance that there is an Isser in here, and they put it in advance intentionally into this. I'm not going to have it. The whole halachas, it's an important thing to remember, and we're going to be learning this in the Siman too. That the whole idea of bittul here, or the whole idea of why this works, is because it's a b'di'evid. B'di'evid, if it became pogum, b'di'evid, if it got mixed in, b'di'evid, if it was nisbatel, then it's okay. Nobody's talking about lechatchila taking something and making it pogum. Right? right? Mixing it in. See, that's where the problem is. It's not just philosophical when it comes to hashgacha. It's not really lechatchila correct to do it.
One thing that let's see if I understood you correctly, you meant that by companies prepare these foods,
right,
that they're mixing in for you, that makes a bitula.
Yeah.
So, but their intention mevatel it. So bittul is not totally on whether the intention is to be.
No, it makes no difference.
Just because the intention is to mix it in,
that's
already called bittul.
That's already called bittul, right? Yeah. All right. So anyway, so I just wanted to share with you a little bit the Basar b'chalav situation, which is very interesting. Machlokes between the Chavas Das and the Crazy Place, and maybe we have time, we'll go into it a little bit more, because this can be relevant. Basar b'chalav situation in medications. But what if it's pogum? All kinds of. It can be relevant.
The whole topic is there.
Which topic?
The whole medication vitamins topic. Not quite clear.
Well, in medication there's a lot of heterim. Okay. Medication, there's different kinds of medication. Medication, there's something called shalokei derech hanasa. Shalokei derech hanasa, you don't really have to be concerned so much unless it's basar b'chalav. But lechatchila, you always have to be concerned with anything.
In our medication, what kind of basar b'chalav problem are you going to have?
No, we don't. Okay, I just used an extreme example of basar b'chalav in medication. You don't usually have basar b'chalav.
Let's say there would be basar
in
b'chalav.
medication.
It would be nevela. But it would be nevela.
Yeah, so.
So what is
it wouldn't be a behemoth meya. It would be a nevela.
Well, why not a behemoth? Why wouldn't it behemoth?
It can be, but then you wouldn't have basar b'chalav.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm saying, maybe yes, maybe not.
And now let's say it was a nevela.
Right.
A nevela of a cow, let's say.
Right.
So it's a behemoth tahara.
You still have a problem.
But is it the same degree of problem?
Yes, it's the same degree of problem.
It doesn't make any difference.
It makes no difference. Yeah. All right. The next halacha that the Mechaber discussed was that this Gima, he makes 2 points. That there is one opinion that says that if the Gima ended up adding to the volume of the heter, when there was some benefit came out of this Gima, that even though it's this tasty, there are some who say that this may be a problem. Why? Because you are gaining something after all, even though it's becoming distasty, because you are gaining something more. There's something gained in the volume, and that gain is definitely more of it's more advantageous to you than the slight defective taste. Then it's a problem. What I want to do right now is discuss the last detail that he says. The last detail, however, is he makes an exception. All up until now, when we spoke about Pekima and making something distasteful, I want to further elaborate on that. Mechaber says that that's only in condition when it's pogum mitchila ve'at soifoy. Okay, from the beginning till the end. If it's only poigem, if it's first ishbiach ulebasof poigem, or pogam ulebasof ishbiach, it's aser. Okay, everybody follow that? In other words, if it first was good and then became bad, or first bad and then became good, I didn't mean those situations. That would be a problem. It always has to be constantly bad. So we didn't fully explain why. So maybe we should do that now. If something is bad and then becomes good, later on it became somehow through the cooking. That's easier to understand. The explanation we gave was because if it really eventually becomes good, it never was bad. So the Shachir adds, even though that's the case, as long as it's bad, then it's bad. If you were to eat it when it's pogum, you would be fine. Because now it's pogum. Later on, it became good. But later on, it would be aser. So that we understand. What's the rationale? The rationale is if it's bad and then good, it means that it was never really bad. But what about the other way around? This one was bothering me a little bit. What if something is good and then turns bad? It's still no good. Still no good.
And it's so counterintuitive because we have a big example for the principle that if something is good and later turns bad, then once it's become bad, you don't have the same sort that you had when it was. Where do we have an example for that? It was good, it turned bad, so now that it's bad, you don't have the same kind of business.
So this one is a little bit. They don't really explain this. Why, if something is good and then turns bad, is it no good? It eventually became bad. So this one, the Chochmas Adam explains. If you ever run into the Sefer Chochmas Adam, we rarely look into it, but it's a good Sefer. It's a good synopsis of many halachas too. And he says that we have a klal. Very interesting klal. He doesn't elaborate too much. Once something was mutter, the way he explains it, once something was aser, not mutter, once, because it was good. Once something was aser, it remains aser. In other words, it started off as aser. It was ishbiach. It was
tasty at the
im
beginning.
ishbiach ulebesoif poigem. Once something is aser, the isser does not fall off it.
So in other words, we don't defer judgment, whether it's mutter or aser, till after it's become pagum. We call it mutter the moment it's and so later it's becoming pagum.
Right.
No longer
Once,
takes it away. And that's funny because no tentam leftam, we do that.
Yeah. So, but if that's the nature of this situation, that once something we said that was aser, it does not lose its halachic status of iser, unless of course it becomes not roi le'achilas adam altogether. That's the way he explains it. But for it to become mutter just because of a little bit of a pgam at the end, that's not sufficient. Okay, it has to have been, like the Mechaber says, all along it has to be in pogum. That's the way he explains it.
But it's I'm saying that at that point in time, the Mechaber here, are they saying that at that point in time it becomes bad later, but what it had at the time it was tasty, that the Isser and eating is the Rabbanan? Or is it the Orais?
No, it's still going to be the Rabbanan.
Ah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So then it's consistent
but
with...
no, but as far as the halachas of Taaruvos, is this considered davar pogum or not?
No.
If at first it's ishbiach, but Basar became pogum.
So the
Mechaber
Taaruvot
says
was
no.
tasty,
Yeah.
like a piece of meat is tasty.
Right.
Later it became pagum, like a piece of meat after 24 hours became...
No, that's a different situation.
But it's a parallel situation, exactly.
Not exactly. No.
Because it becomes us, so the Rabbanan.
No. Here he's talking about a situation where a particular. It's not in every case. This is only in those situations which are very unique, apparently, where something can become one thing initially and one thing later on through the process of cooking or baking or doing something, not time. Everything with time becomes rotten and becomes pogum. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a particular ingredient that as a result of doing something to it, now it's okay. Later on, because of the more cooking or because of introducing something else, it becomes pogum. Right, so it's not a very common situation, perhaps, but
two things. Number one,
right.
In the regular situation where something that is left to sit for long enough eventually becomes pogum,
Right.
it wasn't the time's fault. It was whatever happened during that time due to bacteria and
Right,
or
sure.
whatever.
Okay.
So there's always a process involved that happens over that time.
Yes.
So one might be able to say, so here there's also a process involved that happened over that time. There's still a parallel situation here.
Right.
And I don't see what particular characteristic you're pointing at, because even if it is in the natural process that it'll become pagum as a taruvos,
Right.
is a certain ingredient.
You're taking it too far. We're talking about a particular pot, a mixture, in a very short time frame, even.
Yes.
Where it started off shevach.
Yes.
Okay. This mixture.
Yes.
And at the end of the cooking process, it became pogum. Right. Still, the halacha of pogum will not apply to it.
In other words, it's aser.
Mikvaot says that when it is pogum, it's aser midirabanan.
Yes.
Yes, as we said all along, when it is. But
and
now,
the exact same is said of anything else that was tasty at some point in time became not tasty.
Yeah, but here, for Taaruvos purposes, okay, for Taaruvos purposes, the halachas of Pegima will not apply.
As a Taaruvos,
Right.
it's aser. But if from that Taaruvos...
Not only is it aser, it's not batul beroiv.
Wait a second. In itself, the Isser is
Right.
not batul beroiv in itself.
Right.
Okay, but now, it's always a beroiv.
Beroiv.
60.
You need shishim, you need whatever it is.
Now,
yeah.
from that Taaruvos that right now has now
Yeah.
reached the point where it's no longer tasty.
Right.
It falls into something else and mixed with that. Right now, it is something that's no longer tasty.
Right.
It tastes bad. Now it falls into something else and makes that other thing taste bad. in that other thing, do I still require 60?
No.
Aha.
Yes, because now it's a completely different thing.
Yes.
Now it's falling into something else,
Yes.
and it will be pogrom immediately.
So it has the exact.
Immediately, it will be
So-
pogrom immediately.
So it has the exact same din like anything that was at some point in time
Yes.
tasty and
But
became
not in the
non-tasty.
first mixture.
Look up,
But not in the first mixture.
because now it's already one thing.
Right. But you understand that. Not in the first mixture where something has to be consistent or constantly pogrom for it to have the special halacha of that you don't require bitul b'shish anymore.
I think here's where
Yeah.
we're misunderstanding.
Right.
You are saying even though the mixture later becomes non-tasty, nevertheless this doesn't mean that I suddenly don't need tasty anymore.
Right.
Once at some point in time it was tasty for the ingredient that becomes
Yes.
non-tasty to not usher the mixture, I have to have had 60 against it.
One more time. How was that?
You're looking at, does the koyach of the ingredient that fell into, of the isser that fell into the heter, does the koyach of the isser that fell into the heter to usher the ta'aruvos, does that koyach diminish once the ta'aruvos is no longer tasty? And you're saying, no, it does not diminish. Once it was tasty at some point
Right.
in time when it fell in,
Right.
the koyach of the
That's
isser
correct.
to usher the ta'aruvos does no
Longer
longer
diminished.
diminish, meaning to say that the Rabbanan, that ta'aruvos remains usher.
Right. They're correct. Right.
Okay, I'm talking about.
A second part.
I'm talking about. Is this taruvus with respect to this particular characteristic any different from any other heter? And the truth is, any heter at some point in time was tasty and later became non-tasty for whatever reason. The
No.
Rabbanan, you're not allowed to eat that.
No,
heter.
not any heter. You have things that have been pogrom all along in
Well,
themselves.
that would be the taruvus that was pagam all along. We're talking about one that had a short time where it was tasty.
No, the mixture was tasty.
That's what I'm talking about. The mixture
Right.
was tasty.
You're talking about a mixture.
I'm talking about the mixture
Right.
was tasty.
If you have a situation where a mixture is first tasty,
Yes.
a mixture,
Yes.
and at the end it's not tasty, or the other way around, it's
This-
first not tasty, and in the end it is tasty.
Yes.
The halachas of what we just covered of pogrom does not apply. That's all. That's all. Don't make it. Let's not make it more complicated.
But we distinguish
Yeah.
between the two cases. We said where it's in the beginning not tasty and later becomes tasty. It's obvious. No one would
We
argue
distinguish in the explanation.
that.
Only in the explanation.
But
They're
where
both the
it's-
same.
but we said where it's in the beginning it is tasty and later it becomes non-tasty. One might have a question.
In other words, what's the heter? What's the rationale?
Why continue ushering it now that it's no longer tasty?
Right.
And we said it's asur d'Rabbanan.
So the Chochmas Adam explained that no, the Pri Megadim says it's also midrabanan because after all it's pogrom. That's what the Pri Megadim says. After all it's pogrom. So therefore he says yes, but it's also midrabanan. But why? What's the rationale? So the Chochmas Adam explains the rationale is once for a moment, for a while, something was usher, it doesn't lose that status.
Now keep in
of
mind,
Isser.
all along, we're always talking about whether the taruvus is asur or
Right,
permitted.
right.
We're never talking about whether the isser that became min is asur or permitted. That's not our topic. Of course, the isser that
Obviously,
mixed in is
obviously.
asur.
That's right.
We're talking about whether the taruvus
Only the
is asur or
taruvus,
permitted.
right.
And we're saying a taruvus that was tasty at some point in time,
Yeah.
even though it has an isser, once it becomes non-tasty, remains asur d'Rabbanan.
Right, that's correct.
And with respect to that taruvus is no different than any other kind of isser
Right.
that was tasty at some point in time and later become non-tasty. It's asur d'Rabbanan.
It's going to be also
And
the
since
one at
it's a
that
parallel
point.
case,
Right.
since it's a parallel case, it should be plausible to us. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have a plausibility problem with it.
Yeah, it's very similar, but obviously in a particular situation, in one mixture, that's the halacha.
And not talking about the isser whether it becomes
Yeah.
permitted.
the
taruvus.
taruvus, yes.
And the taruvus is parallel to any other permission,
Yeah.
heter that isser that becomes
Yeah,
non-tasty.
let's just go on a little bit more because the rest we're going to have to leave for next. Afilo en koyach be'iser. Yeah, I'm going to skip the Ramah for now. The next seif was Afilo en koyach be'iser levada lifkom elo yidal v'rach Hashem esayeh. Even though that the iser itself has no strength on its own to be poigim, only through something else that we mix that helps it. כגון שנופל איסור לגדר שיש בו מלח או תבלין מדוכין. Let's say you had an iser that fell into a pot that has salt or spices that were crushed, ground. אלמלא המלח והתבלין שבו לא היה כוח באיסור לפגום. If it wouldn't have been for the salt and spices, you would not have had enough strength in the iser livgum. Afilo ochi muter. Nevertheless, it's still muter. In other words, even though the iser by itself does not on its own have the ability to make it pogrom. It was because as a result of the salt and the spices. Now it ruins it. Now it makes it pogrom. Still, it's all the same.
So it's still mutter.
What?
So the Taaruvot is mutter.
The Taaruvot is still mutter. Yeah. We're going to see a very interesting situation, which I think we'll have to leave it for next week. But I just want to give you an idea.
But regarding this particular set, what if the heter was non-tasty? And the Isser does not make a difference between the heter being non-tasty, is the Taaruvot permitted or asur?
What's the question?
The heter was non-tasty.
So?
It had too much salt.
But it's spoiled.
And now an Isser fell in.
It makes no difference. That's what he's saying.
And the Isser doesn't make a
the
difference.
salt and the spices are heter. It makes no difference what it is. Even if they are the ones that cause the problem, the whole thing is pogrom, the Taaruvot. We're going to see an interesting situation.
No, because he ends up saying, Lo haya koach by Isser livgom. If it wasn't for the salt and the spices, the Isser wouldn't have the koach.
Exactly. The Isser does not have the koyach to be pogrom. It was
maybe
something else in the heter.
Maybe the salt and the spices now amplify.
Or did something in the heter, spices or not, did something to amplify the Isser. It makes no difference. That's what the Mechaber is saying in Sif Gimel, that it makes no difference how the Gimel came about, which is really another way of saying, you know what? When it comes to pogrom, it doesn't make a difference how it comes about. Yeah. But what's interesting about Charif, which is another Sif later on, I don't think we have enough time to get to it tonight, is about, I just want to mention it because it's a very interesting halacha. For those of you who learn Basar b'chalav, it will bring back a memory. You remember the halacha of grinding hot spices into a meat pot? Okay. What do you remember about it?
But when we talk about grinding the grinder itself, what do you call it? It's used to grind it.
Yeah.
So because of the spice, it also acts like heat and it releases the tapes. There's a Melicha, but I'm not likely whether it's Mechaya l'shvach or not.
If what?
With Mechaya l'shvach or not. It's a tam l'fgam.
Right. Oh, right. So let me read to you that seif. It's a whole Siman actually, Siman Tzadik Vav, by Michael Chorev. You remember that too? You learned Basar b'chalav?
Yes.
There's a whole Siman there's a whole Siman of Tzadik Vav about Michael Chorev. Interesting Siman. But I'm not really sure, by the way, even though you learned Basar b'chalav, did you also learn what constitutes today a Michael Chorev? How about schug? You learned probably just onions and garlic and is this the entire list? It's a whole machlokes. It's a machlokes. What is a Michael Chorev? Is it only what is mentioned in the Gemara? Does it also include the whole list of the Rambam mentions? Did you cover that?
We have the machlokes, but we don't know we ever.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so it's an interesting question. What constitutes a Michael Chorev?
No, we never resolved the machlokes.
Never resolved the machlokes. It's important. Maybe we'll get into it. Maybe. All right, but the halacha there was tavin shenidoichu b'medoichu shel basar. Okay, you went ahead and ground some spices in a grinder of meat. Ben yoimai. Also le'ochlu b'chalav.
And if finally we have an Isser B'chad to grind in such a way.
Ramal says yesh omer afilo eino ben yoimai. All right, but anyway, the Mechaber here says that if it's ben yoimai, it's also le'ochlu b'chalav. What do you understand from this Mechaber? That if it's not ben yoimai, it's okay.
We might understand. It depends on whether you say spices mechayel shlach or
what?
It depends on whether you the spices also have anything chayav has the strength to mechayel l'shvach or only radish. Now those opinions it's only radish. The Gemara talks about radish as mechayel l'shvach. Opinion only radish is mechayel l'shvach.
Yeah. Now what is he concerned about over here? He's concerned about the spices.
Right.
He's not talking about using the keli chas v'shalom, right? He's using only about the spices. Whereas here we're going to be learning about. We're talking about Eino B'Yoyma, we're talking about Pogrom here, right? We're going to be learning halacha of Yesh Mishomer Shim Samo Pilpil Bigder Shel Issa She'eino B'Yoyma, She'eino Bas Yoyma. If you put hot peppers in a pot of Isser, which is not Bas Yoyma, Akol Asur, everything. The Churpe Mashvile Leshvach, the acidity, if we can call it, the sharpness of the spice, transforms the Eino B'Yoyma L'Shvach.
But it can't be just, we're saying because of the...
No action here.
No pressure?
No pressure.
Just spice without
just
pressure?
Spices.
And no heat?
No, we're talking about cooking.
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 Fine.
We're talking about cooking. Yeah, we're talking about cooking.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're talking about cooking. Yeah, we're talking about cooking.
Right.
Right? That is what he basically concludes in the Beis Yosef, and here he brings it down to halacha. So everybody's going to pick on him, as they usually do from time to time, like in Machaber. Oh, you have a stira here. What's the stira?
Rabbi Akiva Eiger had fantastic resolution. 3-way machlokas.
Yeah, it's not a real machloek. I don't know if it's that Rabbi Akiva Eiger now. But anyway, here we're going to see the Supreme Godim says it's not really a stira in the Mechaber. What's the difference? There's Basar b'chalav and here is Isurim. What's the difference between Basar b'chalav and Shar Isurim? Besides Chanan. We're not talking about Chanan here. What is the big difference between Basar b'chalav and regular tarfus?
Heter and
Pork.
heter.
Heter and heter. Whenever you have heter and heter, you have a tremendous maila, tremendous advantage. Okay? Yeah. What's the idea of heter and heter? It's not just heter beheter, because heter beheter, you can have a situation of heter beheter that is not so simple. Can you put into your sink and wash at the same time a pot of fleishiks and a pot of melichiks at the same time? You should know that the answer to this from Basar b'chalav. You have a sink, one sink, not a double sink. You want to wash your dishes with hot water, and you want to wash them together. Your basar pot, and your melichik pot. Can you do it together or not? Why not?
Because you have taste or I don't know.
Did you learn about nat bar nat? Great. This is nat bar nat. What are you going to have the tam of the basar
There's also
coming into the water, the tam of the chalav coming into the water.
If
What's
you
the
go to
time?
Moshe, there's also
No, there's no mamashas.
So
Let's say there's no
what family was
mamashas.
previously-
Very good. There's no mamashas.
Something
Obviously, if
very
you have
good.
mamashas, everybody's in agreement with that.
Right.
There's no mamashas. Both pots are clean. You just want to wash them, So a very good point. Yeah, no
In other
mamashas.
words, it's like you're taking by removing it, just like
The-
clay.
The problem with the basar and b'chalav, even the two heterim, when they come together in the water, they mix. It's not a real nat bar nat.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're at the exact same time, it's not a real nat bar nat.
Right.
That's the only reason you should not cook them together. You can't cook them
You
together.
can't wash them too.
You can't wash them together.
But usually you'd be doing that with liquid.
Yeah, obviously.
That's
Okay. Yeah. But in the case of the mechaber there in Tzadik Vav, when you actually ground them, even though it's ben yoima and you have a tam, to eventually put them in to, in other words, to cholav, you can't, right? I'm saying no. If it's ben yoima, right? Because of the problem of
No, not Mechayel Shvach.
also le'achlo b'cholav. Why? Because you actually have a direct combination of the tam of one in the other. And you don't really have a nat by nat situation. In other words, this one is even more of a problem than the tam going into water. Here you actually have the spice with the tam going directly into the cholav. In other words, this one is even more of a problem than the water. Okay, again. Let's.
We have a problem here. If you cook a fish head in a pot that's fleishy,
Oh no, Ilan, no. It's going to take too long. It's almost 11 o'clock. One more time. This is a whole different sugya. The only reason I wanted to mention it is because it's very interesting to see that it's really not a stira in the mechaber. All you have here is basar b'chalav, and even though you have hetera and hetera is true. It's a leniency. It usually is a leniency. Like, unless it's not a real nat bar nat situation. And the situation of Tzadik Vav, when Mechaber says if it's ben yoim or also le'achlo b'cholav, you don't really have a nat bar nat. You're taking the spice that is fleishik, putting into the melichiks. It's obviously aser. Okay? In the case of the two pots being washed in the water in the basin at the same time, it's less of a problem, but it's still a problem for some reason. They're mixing at the exact same time in the water. Okay? However, from the Mechaber, it's inferred that if it's not ben yoimoy, that's all I want to do, is to show you that from the Mechaber it's inferred that if it's a not ben yoimoy, even though it's possible cholav, even though it's not barnat, it would be mutter. Why? Because when you're dealing with hetera and hetera, we're more lenient than in the kuf gimel by us when you have a real isser. and you have that theory that because of the churfa, because of the sharpness of the tavlin, this thing will no longer be eino ben yoima. Obviously, then you don't have a het of a heter here.
So because of nat bar nat,
Yeah.
we
Not bar
don't
nat.
say niklash tam on an isser. Once something was already an isser,
Yeah.
nat bar nat doesn't take away
That's
the
true.
isser.
That's true.
Whereas something that
By
was a heter,
nat
nat
bar-
bar nat
yes.
can reduce it such as it doesn't have the craft
Yes.
to become an isser.
We'll talk about not by isser also next week because Ilan is right.
This is the point here.
No,
This is that's what makes the difference.
not really. Not really. Not always.
Well, but in this particular situation,
Not necessarily. You can have a situation where it's not bar nat, okay, by the isser. Okay, in other words, that's not the reason necessarily why it's not bar, why it's usser.
nat bar nat doesn't help by isser.
Not bar nat doesn't help by isser, is because even though we say not bar nat is nechlash, it's weakened. Okay, it's not necessarily weakened enough for us to make something which is usser, not usser.
The comparison is the wrong one.
Yeah.
Because what am I expecting of the nat bar nat to accomplish by isser is to remove the effectiveness of something that's already aser. Nat bar nat by basar b'chalav by heter.
Right.
I'm expecting to make it too weak to become an isser.
Yeah.
Why would I compare the two
Yes.
situations?
But again, there are situations where you can take a spoon and touch the pan directly and not have a nat bar nat. Okay? That's what I'm saying. So it's not necessarily because of nat bar nat that is by Yisurim doesn't apply. I can show you a situation where you don't have nat bar nat, where you put a spoon and directly touch the pan, and you don't mix the spoon in the liquid. It's a big shaila in Basar b'chol. It's a shaila when you learn nat bar nat, you would have learned the various grades of nat bar nat.
But you're comparing
when is it nat bar nat? Right.
Nat with the mechaber where nat bar nat doesn't apply.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily because of nat. That's what I'm saying. It's not because of nat bar nat by Yisurim. But anyway, Mr. Hashem, we'll discuss this a little bit more next week.